Senator Capito.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Mr. Cabinet Secretary. Good to see you again. I have a couple quick questions, obviously. First, I'd like to comment on Taxiway A relocation project at West Virginia International Yeager Airport, which is my airport where I fly in and out of. Yeager does not meet the FAA's modern design standards because its taxiway, Taxiway A, is too close to the airport's sole runway. So we have a relocation project which would create this issue, and I support the FAA allowing the project to proceed through as a category exclusion. This issue is before the FAA, but I wanted to put it on your radar screen, and you don't need to comment on it unless you want to. But I wanted to also call to your attention the FAA contract tower program. This is really important for our aviation safety. We have 4 airports in the state of West Virginia. And also Congress created the competitive grant program, which allocates $20 million annually for 5 years. Will you and your team work with us to ensure that the contract tower program continues to play a key role in our nation's aviation systems?
Yes, we know how important this is, especially in smaller and rural communities, and we'll welcome the chance to continue to work with you on contract towers.
Thank you. The interagency dispute over spectrum policy, with the FAA and aviation and 5G, Secretary Raimondo was before the committee, said that there had been a resolution working with the Spectrum Coordination Initiative at the DOC. How are we going to avoid these kinds of conflicts in the future? This one went on for a while before it kind of reared its head. How do you see this in the future? Is there an interagency group working on this so we can avoid these issues?
Yes, there have been a lot of discussions in the interagency. There will be more spectrum overlap and conflict issues, and it's important for them to be addressed before any kind of deployment is looming. And as you know, the issue with aviation that happened early this year and that we're still working through was partly the consequence of regulators not all being on the same page before something went forward. And so
regulator being the FCC and the FAA.
Yeah, and you could view Commerce and the NTIA as having been part of that churn as well. So I know that the new leader of NTIA and Secretary of Commerce are committed to working with that. I've had dialogue with them. I know the White House also is encouraging that all of the different players, FAA, FCC, NTIA, I would add DOD in some cases, are at the table so that we can have the smoothest possible process for dealing with these issues as they come up in the future.
Right. I mean, we don't want to lose our expansion of 5G. We already know we're sort of a little behind on some of that. So resolutions of those kinds of conflicts on the front end are certainly going to save time and money and move us along. Let me ask you about the workforce issues. We just had Spirit Airlines has a seasonal flight out of the Charleston airport that goes from Yeager Airport to Myrtle Beach every summer, very popular. They canceled that flight for the summer, stating that they didn't have the workforce, and I'm assuming it's the pilots, but I don't know that that's the only part of the workforce that's having the great challenge. What are we going to do about this? I mean, this is system-wide. SkyWest, I know Senator Fisher mentioned that, as another one that impacts our Clarksburg Airport. How are you working at the department to meet this challenge?
Yes, thank you. This is a national issue. It's affecting the whole domestic aviation industry, but disproportionately affecting smaller regional carriers. And what we're seeing is that even major carriers have cut schedules on regional routes, largely because the larger carriers tend to offer the better salaries and can attract these pilots. Safety, of course, is such an important part of aviation. It leads to the necessity of very rigorous standards and requirements. But that doesn't mean we can't act to boost pilot recruitment and retention. I want to recognize that a lot of aviation industry players have been at the forefront of this, taking steps to expand the training and the recruitment of pilots. We have some tools that we can use as well, and the FAA will shortly be releasing a notice of funding opportunity for the Aircraft Pilots Workforce Development Grants Program, which is one example of a step we can take with federal funding to help boost that pipeline. There won't be a quick fix, but we've got to work on shoring up that domestic aviation workforce.
Do we have enough pilots trained, or is it a situation where we don't have enough at the very beginning that can transition into commercial airlines?
Yeah, I'd say we were already on track for a shortage, but then with the pandemic, you had early retirement programs, there were voluntary departures that were aimed at reducing the long-term costs that thinned out airline staff that have compounded that issue.
Well, we have the development of an aviation school in West Virginia right now through Marshall University, and we have one at Fairmont, and I understand Shepherd's going to get into that space as well. So we're doing what we hope we can do to help us fill those workforce issues. We also have it on the maintenance side too, so because that's just as important, and there's projected to be hundreds of thousands of jobs in that space in the future. Thank you. Thank you, Senator